Welcome to Protea Conversations, the show where we explore the stories, insights, and ideas shaping the future of accounting and business. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Jennifer Green, founder and partner at Jade Consulting. Jennifer has built a reputation for helping firms rethink the way they approach leadership, culture, and growth while bringing a more human-centered perspective to the accounting profession. In an industry that has experienced rapid change through technology, evolving client expectations, and shifting workforce dynamics, Jennifer has been a strong voice for building businesses that prioritize both people and performance. In our conversation, we'll explore Jennifer's journey, the philosophy behind Jade Consulting, what great leadership looks like in today's environment, and her perspective on where the accounting profession is heading next. Jennifer, welcome to Protea Conversations.
Thanks, Zane. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. It's been an interesting ride to get to know you over a fairly short amount of time, but it's probably longer than my brain really actually remembers it. We got to meet each other on a webinar not so long ago, and then got to hang out a little bit in person just about a month ago, which was really nice. It was great to learn about you, meet your partners, and just get to spend some time with you, which was great.
Yeah, thanks. It was nice meeting you in San Diego in person as well. I know we did I think it was a carbon webinar, and then nice to meet you in person as well. So
Yeah, so it sounds like we're both carbon people, which is always a great place to tie up with, because I think anybody who's on carbon is making smart decisions.
yeah, and it's nice to have those different. It's interesting. I really like about Carbon Next, the conference, is that it just takes it to a slightly different level. Because when you go to some of the larger, accounting GL conferences like a QBO or a Xero or something like that, I find you get people from all walks of life. But when you're talking to carbon people, it's really different because it's really practical about how you're employing things and putting them into practice in the business. And everyone's so open and sharing best practices. Like it's a great business conference, but it's just on a really different level. It feels very niche and very personal.
These micro conferences are really gathering speed at the moment, especially with specific tech partners, or maybe it's some sort of like specific industry. I know there's a bunch of different groups that have their conferences, and you go to these bigger conferences and yeah, we're all accountants, we're all trying to learn how to use tools and be better at it. But when you get to, like you said, in Carbon X, like we're all using the same tool. Now we're trying to figure out how do we best deploy the technology that's coming our way to do what we do successfully. And even though we're all accountants, we all do it very, very differently. And obviously you're north of the border, and I'm out here in the US. So just from that, we're having to do things a little bit differently because there's different rules and regulations.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, and in Canada today, I think it's 40, feels like 44 degrees Celsius, which is about 110 Fahrenheit. So a slight difference across the border in that regard right now too.
Yeah, I think we're sitting at 60 degrees in California at the moment.
Ooh,
And we're going to go hang out at the county fair in a few hours' time with the
nice.
kids. And I'm so happy it's not 44
No,
degrees
not
Celsius.
100 degrees. Yeah.
I would
It
be
sounds like a
telling
nice
the
spot.
boys, it ain't happening, not today. We're sitting in the air conditioning.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my dogs are telling me today. There was no walk. It's all AC.
How many dogs do you have?
Two dogs, two golden retrievers, an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. So yeah, they don't mind the heat, so they can handle it for a little bit. But long walks, they're like not a chance. So they're pretty happy just to hang out in the AC right now.
Fair enough. I'm glad I don't have to deal with walks with dogs in the heat. We're cat people with a family of 6 of those running around the house.
Boy, that's a lot of fur. Probably more than my
It's
retrievers.
it's probably more than your retrievers for sure. But they might take up more space on the bed than retrievers would.
I don't know about that, but
They end up being this big each, even though they're this big in size. I don't know how they do it.
yeah, lots of fur.
So when I was digging in the research before I was going to speak to you, I was shocked and surprised how long you've been in business for. I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but you've been at this for a long time.
Yeah, I actually founded Jade. We incorporated in 1999. So my joke is that I was like 10 years old when we did it, which is not exactly true, but I'll pretend.
That was
and
my
just
guess, or at
Hope,
least,
hope
I
that
mean,
the filters are good on the video. But yeah, I've been at it a long time. I started my first business actually when I was 18. So I've been like an entrepreneur my entire life, but it all sort of started, and I'll tell you a bit about the business in a moment, but I started my career in investment banking. And what was in the moment a terrible thing that happened is I got laid off. The department that we worked for this investment bank, they laid off everyone in Canada. They just had the small shop here. And so we all got laid off, and I was, just devastated because I just started my career and all that kind of stuff. But I got retained on contract. So I worked in the finance department. And there was only 2 of us. There was a CFO and myself. And I got retained on contract to wind up what was, left of all these old banking operations and obligations. And I was doing that part-time. And I started taking on, doing some bookkeeping and accounting for some friends and colleagues and their businesses. And I just really quickly realized how much I not only loved the accounting and the bookkeeping work, loved running my own business, and mostly just being responsible for my own time and my own actions. And I always say, like, I take a lot of pride in hedging my own bets. Like, I like to be the one that's sort of responsible, as opposed to like from an employee perspective, which is how it all started. I thought that was, my start and my gig and that kind of stuff, and it didn't turn out that way. So I think that was a really defining moment for when I decided like entrepreneurship really was the way that I did want to go. So yeah, it's been a long time.
I mean, that's incredible that you've been able to, keep a firm thriving for like effectively your whole adult life.
Yeah, thanks. Today we look like, so Jade Consulting is an established CAS practice here in Canada. We're 15 women, fully remote, all across Canada, serving what we call scaling entrepreneurs, usually between about 1 to 10 million in gross revenue. But yeah, so in the early days, it was mostly just me. And then I think I was up to around 5 or 6, like pre-COVID. And then my now business partner, Michelle Phillip, and we merged our firms in 2021. And over the last 5 years, like we've tripled the business. We're 15 women, as I mentioned. We do full bookkeeping, accounting, sales tax, financial reporting, payroll. We do everything except tax returns. So we don't touch personal or corporate tax returns. So we're really, the back office for a lot of our clients, and we plug in behind the scenes, but our clients really feel like we're just an extension of their business. So the benefit of working with us at this point in time is that they'll get all those things, like they'll get that expertise in the bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, sales tax type thing, without having to have a full-time bookkeeping hire who may not have that depth or breadth of knowledge. So it works. Our models worked really well. And yeah, we've got, like I said, 15 women all across Canada right now. So we're pretty proud of that.
That's incredible. Do you think you would have opened your own firm if it wasn't for that terrible experience of being laid off? Or I mean, I know you said you were an entrepreneur from a young age, but
Yeah.
like
I suspect
most people go to banking want to be bankers, right? That's a big
yeah.
shiny
I got
career.
into accounting because the numbers made sense to me, which I think is partly what it was. I even do remember in high school, like I mentioned, I started my first business at 18. So I had to go around. I wanted to start the business in like April, and school here didn't finish till June in my senior year of high school. I had to go around to all my teachers and to my principal and ask them to let me out of the last couple months of school so that I could start my business. So I highly suspect, and I know in my last year I took like accounting classes and marketing classes and things like that. Like I definitely had a business certificate through the high school as well. So I highly suspect I would have circled back to that one way or another, despite, wanting to get some experience in financial services. I'm pretty sure I would have circled.
You miss financial services?
Investment banking? No. This is like loops really nicely into cloud accounting when I talk to people, but we used to have to sit at our desk for like 2 weeks after the month end, 3 weeks sometimes after the month end, painting the picture of what the bankers did the prior month. And it just always infuriated me that, we were chained to our desk for, hours and days and months or weeks after the month end close to paint that picture, because it didn't mean anything anymore. So it was really just a necessary compliance action that had to happen. It wasn't meaningful. And then, skip forward to like when cloud accounting happened. And I think it was 2012 when we first got on QuickBooks Online. And I'm like, my God, the bank feeds are here. Like I can actually have someone's books up to date every single day. Right. So that's the power of it for us. So
yeah, it still blows my mind that back in the day, like it would take weeks, if not months, to get a set of books up to where it needed to be. And, I don't know that world at all, because I went from KPMG working with big companies to a listed subsidiary where we had to like be done by the third business day to a cloud accounting firm, right? Like, so I've never known that world, but like I hear about it all the time. Like, yeah, it used to be totally normal to get your financial 60 days later. And I'd just be like, and obviously there's still firms out there that operate that way, and that makes my life easier. And I'm sure yours as well. We're like, oh, we'll get it done in 10 days. They're like, sign us up. We're in, right?
Yeah.
But talk to me about that change to cloud accounting. I mean, that was a pretty major, it's something I sort of just missed it because I only moved to the US in 13. So I didn't ever go through that massive change. And talk me through that, because that was a big moment, and it's a big moment that many people talk about, especially in, consideration of what we're going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah. In early days, like, yeah, the GL, like the packages we've been a QuickBooks shop the whole time. So that's like what I'm referring to. But in the early days, one of my colleagues, a friend who sort of called me up and said, because I was still sort of, working through that banking contract that I mentioned, had a couple small jobs. And he called me up and he says, like, do you know how to use QuickBooks Online? And I'm like, sure I do. Right. And he would have been my first client. And I actually think one of my passwords is still his business name from like 20 years ago. But he's like, do you use QuickBooks Online? I'm like, how hard can it be? So I'm like, sure. And we just dove in. And then the one thing I realized then is my interactions became really different with clients. So I could go down, pop in, have lunch, pick up the paperwork, that kind of thing that I still needed. There still was paperwork back then, before we got on HubDoc and Text and those types of things. But then my relationship with the client was going out to lunch, having a coffee, having a chat, what's new in the business. Yeah, I'll take your papers, giving them a little bit of advice. It wasn't just sitting down in their office and processing that paper in like a desktop environment. So every single one of my visits, which I still did back in the day, I was still popping down to the city, but I would see 3, 4, 5 clients potentially in a day as opposed to 1 or 2. And then you'd have to come back and do the drive again type thing. So it just shifted, and they talk about that a lot now, like being more of an advisor than you were before. And I was still doing all that same work back then. Like, and it still was manual. You're still keying stuff in. But just by not having to sit physically in someone's office and do the work for them, underneath their oversight, like it really did shift that perspective from, being a worker where that client was going to tell you kind of how to do your job to us being the experts again. And I think that was a really big shift for us, like, being off site and being able to still get work done without being underneath someone. So it was a big sight. I think it changed the perspective a lot for bookkeeping and accounting to be that one a bit like slightly more valued than it would have been potentially back in the day when someone was just sitting there and you're in your office doing pushing paper.
Yes, it definitely changed the job. But how did it affect like you as a firm and the way you do things and the way you worked with your team? Like, did it change the structures at all?
Yeah, it just allowed us to expand because, again, mentioning like I would pop down and see the client and they would want Jen to be doing the work. But when it was now cloud based, I didn't need to be the one that was entering in all the bills and I didn't need to be the one that was necessarily reconciling the bank. So immediately it just opened up capacity so that I could still be that key point of contact with the client. I could still maintain that relationship, but I didn't need to be the one pushing the button the whole time. So definitely opened us up from a capacity perspective for sure. So
Yeah, I always find because of that, I mean, a large part of our team is in our South African office, and that ability for somebody else to do it and doesn't have to be that point of contact allows us to help a lot more people. And I always have felt that there's never enough good accountants out there for the number of people that need the help, and just being able to have people work wherever they are. And like you said, your team's all over Canada. It lets you hire good talent that's going to get the best results, that's going to help those clients in the long term. It seems like that would have been a pretty monumental shift in the business.
yeah, we've been able to acquire excellent talent this way. Before, we're at a little suburb about, I'd say 30 minutes northeast of Toronto, with traffic an hour and 30 minutes northeast of Toronto. So it was really limited to beginning, like who wanted to come to the office, right? And so we had a much smaller team. And then, part of it was because of COVID, we decided like, part of it QBO, part of it, the ability to be remote. And then it was COVID allowed us to be able to, look broader. We've always had one consultant that's out in Nova Scotia in the Eastern Canada. So we always knew that it could work and we often worked from home. So again, we knew it could work, but it was COVID that really allowed us to think, okay, like, let's see where we can get the best talent. So yeah, it's been really fortunate that way.
And then you did a merger. Talk me through that. That seems scary and daunting and like, just a lot. Obviously, your business partner is great. So I can see how it could work well. But at the same time, that's still a big, significant. I mean, you'd been in business for a long time before you got to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, it was actually way easier than I ever could have anticipated because the match was so strong. So Michelle and I had worked together for about 5 years. Michelle had her own bookkeeping firm and I had mine. And Michelle and I met and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of busy. Do you want to help me with this project or that project? And I came to really depend on her, Michelle. And then, but at this point in time, it was right before COVID hit. We were both very bottlenecked in our businesses. We were both the bottleneck in each of our businesses. But I'm like, if you come over here, I've got some bookkeepers that could take care of that. And the payroll team could take care of that. And then you could do the higher level Michelle things that I need you for. And so we started to talk about it and we asked each other a bunch of questions. We knew there was a level of trust there because we'd worked together a long time. And then I think we gave it a couple months to sit with it. And then we went out to dinner again and we're like, okay, what are we doing? And we're like, let's give it a go. So we incorporated a new company and each of our existing companies, own shares in the new company. So we decided to continue with the Jade brand. Michelle was really behind it. So Jade's a symbol of prosperity and good fortune. And so that's why I kind of found that many, many moons ago and just wanted to stick with it because I really liked what it represented. So yeah, we've been together 5.5 years now and never looked back, never had an argument. complement each other very well. And we're both very similar personality wise. We're both pretty high energy and really do enjoy what we do. So it makes the business fun. Yeah, really fun.
That's great, but you're going to make some tactical decisions when you come together, right? Like decisions
Yeah.
on who's going to do what, who's responsible for what. Like sometimes that can be difficult. Like, what are you giving up? Because these are things that you might have liked, but maybe she's better at it. Those type of things. How did that part of the
Yeah,
transition go?
it really was pretty natural, but we've also thought about different parts of it. I kept what I call like people and profit. So those are the things that are sort of under what my responsibility. Michelle is more ops, and then since then we've actually hired what we call our accounting and customer experience lead. So our mini management team, sort of has 3 people, and we overlap nicely. Again, I call myself people and profit. So to me, both are equally critical and important. And that's made up of sort of the culture, HR, business development. I still get involved on the client side from time to time, but it's mostly reviewing files or ensuring that, certain situations are handled appropriately according to our Jade's sort of values and standards, or what we call our Jade Sparkle. But I no longer do any technical work. And so for a little while, it was just like, I don't touch bank recs. I don't do journal entries. So it had to be sort of like this, nope,
Yeah.
not my job thing, which
Yeah.
wasn't easy. I've got another story I'll tell you a little later about that. Remind me about my hockey analogy. That's a good one. But so as a, business owner, and so Michelle, again, operationally, she's excellent. So any of the technology and the systems, like if something's not working right, like Michelle will figure it out before any, customer support, you call support the help desk, like when you call the
Okay.
help desk or anything like
Yeah.
that. Our team, luckily, we have a big team. So we play off each other a lot, and we can often troubleshoot most things before we ever need to go to like technical support. But Michelle's amazing in that regard. So a lot of these things came to us pretty naturally as to how we were going to divide everything. But yeah, so I'll circle back to my hockey analogy for a quick sec, because this was one of the biggest challenges, I think, with us coming together, but also with my development, like sort of as a leader in the business. And so I often say, like, when I started the business, I was Are you a hockey fan, Zane?
No,
Okay.
there's not a lot
Hopefully,
of ice in South Africa, so
okay. So hopefully someone will get
I play a lot
the
of
gist
ice
of it.
hockey video games, so I've got a general sense of
Okay,
of the game.
perfect. So for the longest time, I was the on ice cap, right? So I'm on ice, I'm with the team, we're doing everything together, like it was true teamwork, but I still had the responsibility for it. I was scoring most of the goals, like setting up the plays, all that kind of stuff. So I was on ice captain. Then I had to sort of move myself out to bench coach. Right. I couldn't be on the ice all the time. I had to like make some of the calls. So I moved myself up to bench coach. But what was still great is I was still on the ice. I was still comfortable. I could still skate around. I still felt really close to people. And then came a time when I knew I needed to move myself up to being the GM. So I needed to like go and sit up in the box way up high. And, it feels a bit lonely. You have less connection with everyone. It's definitely more pressure and responsibility. But when you're sitting up there in the box, you have a different vantage point and a different perspective on things. And you're able to see a different way that those people on the ice can be successful without you. And that's your legacy. And so now they're the ones making the plays, for the fans, and they're the ones answering to the crowds and things like that. So it's just about like, leveling myself up, like in recognizing that actually is a really normal transition, even though, it felt for the longest time incongruent that I was like stepping away from the thing that I was, so close to and able to make so successful. But yeah, I really believe that like when you're able to like focus on being the leader and be the GM and build that strong team, like the team is the one that's going to help take you to the next level. And that's what helps, like, in the hockey analogy, that's what helped the franchise live on. It's not the people in the box, it's the people on the ice. So
Yeah. I love that analogy. My brain just goes straight to soccer. I'm like, I went from star
okay, you
player
can
to
take that.
player manager, and then I don't even know what the next step would be.
Yeah.
But I get it. I like it. It makes a ton of sense. And I do like that idea that, especially that mind shift of going from like, hey, I was the star, now I want to make the team the star. I think that's fantastic. And it does flow into like what I want to talk to you about a lot, because it definitely shines through in the conversations we've had, from what I've seen online about you, that, culture and the people side of it is super important. And from everything that I can see and read, a lot of your success has just been looking after the people side of it. And that aligns perfectly
Yeah.
with the way I feel about growing business. People and profit make sense. Can't have profit if you don't have good people. You can't have good people if you don't have profits. So, those things work. Like, I love what you talk about from that standpoint. And it would be great just to hear your perspective on how you approach people and culture.
Yeah. I always say, like, I can't take care of 200 clients myself, but if I love my team enough, they can help me do that. And I feel really strongly, and this sounds sort of dorky, but like it's that ripple effect, right? Like if I take care of my team and then they take care of my clients, those clients are now taking care of like tenfold the amount of like their clients and their team and things like that. And I really do believe it's like it affects our entire economy. So every little bit that I can do and just take care of my team, there's a huge ripple effect in that. So culture is really, really important to us here. And we've been really I'll say lucky to a degree, but I think for me, a lot of it is like the way as a leader, like authenticity is really important to me, and transparency at the appropriate level for most things. And letting people, we've always said, even in our very first job interview that we ever have with people, when they come and have an interview with us, the only thing I ever say to them in email is just bring your authentic self to the first call. That's all we ask. Because that's the most important part. Like if certain people are deficient on a particular skill, and maybe they know QBO, but they've never used Dexter, HubDoc, or Carbon. It's just like if they're like a great human being and they're really excited about the job, and a lot of those other skills can be taught. Getting great humans to work with really is the most important.
Yeah, I think over my time, I've realized as well, like, you don't necessarily need to hire like the greatest accountants in the world, but you do need to hire competent people that believe in the vision and with whose values align. And when that all comes together, people just tend to work harder for each other. And not necessarily for me, but for the rest of the team, right? And when they're working harder for each other, that just flows through everything and it provides a better product for our clients.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
How do you go about like maintaining the culture? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis to make sure that that culture lives on and that it remains a great place where people want to be and give their best to help your clients, which can then help the economy?
Yeah, we do a lot of things internally. Most of them because we actually want to and we care enough. They're not like a lot of them don't aren't planned necessarily. Some of them are, but we're the very first thing, as I mentioned, we say to people is like, just bring your authentic self. Like that's what we want. And we really do have that. We get a lot of feedback from the team that they appreciate being able to show up and go, you know what? I'm not really myself today. Like, I may not speak up on this call because like I've got something going on, very supportive of that. We also let people know right away that like you're not on an island because working from home and working remotely isn't for everyone. They truly do have a team because I think most anywhere they're interviewing is going to tell them like it's a great team and so on. We put our money where our mouth is. We have open office hours on Monday where people can just hop in and share ideas or get, help with anything that's, keeping them stuck. Monday, we always do open office hours. Tuesday, we have a firm-wide call, which is like our only mandatory call all week. Wednesday, Michelle does open office hours. Thursday, we have an optional team call. Fridays, we leave open, but we do use like Teams and things like that to keep the conversation going. We've got someone that's on vacation right now, and she's popped in earlier today to send us pictures of herself on the beach and all that they did for Canada Day and stuff like that. So part is we make sure no one feels like they're out on an island. We put our money where our mouth is when we say like we are a team and we really do support people both personally and professionally. We encourage people in their personal and professional development. We have budgets for that for everyone. We have Michelle and I are really big on charitable giving in our communities and to things that are really important to us. And what we do for every single person on the team as well, they get $200 a year to donate to the charity of their choice in their communities. So the team really loves that and then we get to learn so much more about our team because one time it was something called like Hope Air, and it's like in Northern Ontario, and they fly people down to have like life-saving like health interventions and operations and things like that in like the Toronto area. Other people were supporting Indigenous causes, other people dog rescues, other people adoption centers, like just a multitude of things. And it's really nice you get to know more about your team that way. And most people are really comfortable telling you why that's like an important charity to them. So they feel like we're giving to something. Another one's a little local library way out in the middle of, rural Alberta, things like that. So it's really special. Like we try and, like I said, put our money where our mouth is at the same time and, give where we can. And just treating people like humans and just being really grateful that they want to come and spend their time with us every day.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, right? Like we always have to remember that these are humans and they come with human emotions, human experiences. They all have things going on in their lives. And like you mentioned, it's hard when you're not in person. It's not, I remember being in a big office and you walk past and you're like, okay, they're having a day. And you're like, like maybe they need some support. Maybe you need to check in on them. But that's not necessarily the case when you're remote. Like you don't get to see the people's faces that often. Or even if, you have the intentional calls, they can still cover up, right? Like people can put up a mask for a few seconds. So having that intentionality to make sure people feel safe, feel like they can talk up, feel they can share when they're struggling. I think that is really, really important.
Yeah. And it comes out. Like everyone on the team, I would say over the last year or so has like we know that they feel comfortable because they are sharing that kind of stuff with us. We had a great success the other day. One of our team members who had been struggling over the last month with one of her parents got a cancer diagnosis. And so that was, pretty quiet and behind the scenes, but we knew what was going on. And, a small group of us were, making sure she felt really supported. And she felt confident. She shared with the whole team on Monday or on Tuesday that they got a all clear diagnosis. So yeah,
That's
really,
fantastic.
really wonderful, meaningful stuff.
Do you think this is the way you've always felt about leadership and managing your firm, that the people are important? Or do you think there was a point in time where this like realization kicked in?
Well, I think I've always known that. I've always valued relationships. Like that really is important to me. The flip side of that is I would say probably a little bit was coming out of investment banking. Like I really did want to do something different, in, like I said, like late nights, didn't matter. Like I know there was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd still be at my desk. Right. And things like that. And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. So when when my kids were really little, it was very, very intentional when I was having other people that were starting to work for us. That's the one colleague I mentioned that's in Nova Scotia. She had young children as well. And I'm like, that's perfect. We want let's be flexible. Let's meet people where they're at. And so originally we sort of had a model that I thought we would go mostly with contractors. And over time that evolved. And we've got, I'd say we're 90% employees, about 10% contractors. But it really has been about having some sort of flexibility to be able to do life, because life's so important and we all have it, and we can kind of pretend, for a little while that we don't, but that doesn't work. So we ask the team for like about 80%, I think we usually say 80% of their time has to be traditionally between that standard 9 to 5, because that's when most of our clients are on the line. But that other 20% is theirs to flex as they see fit. So if they want to come in a little later one morning or, work on the weekends, or my example is always like, if you want to go play tennis at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, like it's all yours. We totally support that. So yeah. So the leadership side of it is really important to me. It took me a while to own it and to realize that I wasn't just everyone's friend. Like actually that's the tone I choose to bring. And I'm much more comfortable now than ever saying that, yeah, I am the leader and I'm comfortable in those shoes now. So
Yeah, and that own it part is into the whole like flexibility side, and we have a very similar ethos in terms of flexibility, but we always add in, as long as you met your deadlines, you can be as flexible as you like, right? Like I don't even have the 80% of that time. If you don't have work, that's fine. Like just get your job done, and then you're free. I think it freaks people out when they work for us. They're like, I didn't have 40 hours of work. I'm like, that's not your responsibility. That's my responsibility, right? Like you do you. You meet the deadlines, you keep our clients happy, then it's all your time. But, trying to shift that mind shift and like, hey, you can go watch your kid's sport event. Yes, you can go do drop off. Yes, you can go to that like, fitness class that you've always wanted to go to, but it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, so you weren't able to do it. Or my wildest one, and like this is why I started flexibility, is I would work at 2 o'clock in the morning. The next day, I'm like, I have a doctor's appointment at 10 a.m. And they're like, well, I need to get approval first. You might have to put in sick leave. I'm like, I worked 17 hours yesterday. What are you talking about? Like, I need approval and like sign a leave form to go to the doctor for an hour. Like,
yeah.
you put me in that doctor's room. Like, let's be a bit fair about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And old habits die hard. Like every once in a while I'll see myself like say I'm just popping out for a few minutes or if I did work late the night before, like and I don't come on till 9:30, be like, oh sorry, I had a slow morning. And it's like both Michelle and I really try hard to catch ourselves in that, because it is okay. One of my favorite things to do is listen to audiobooks, and I absorb that the best in the car. I'll drive 20 minutes to Starbucks twice a week just to go get my tea, because that's my time. Right. I don't sit and read a book every morning, and I have to remember that that's actually work. Right. And it doesn't feel like it because it's something I love, but that's actually work. It's part of my job. And I have to sometimes I have to remind myself that, and then let go of what does that look like? Doesn't matter. Yeah. Old habits die hard. But
Yeah. It's setting the example, right? So if you're always apologizing for not being there, then the team feels like actually, like they say it's okay, but is it actually okay? So I think, that change in behavior, like we all have to take, and I'm probably the worst of it because I just walk out and just disappear. But, that behavior change is important because it sets the example for the team.
yeah. Yeah. So self-aware helps, especially when you are leading and people notice those types of things, for sure.
Tell me about the all female team. Where did that decision come from, or did it just naturally happen?
It was very organic. It was very organic. we do find that our team of women have a level of care about the client. I don't want to say that it's more likely that it's going to be a female that focuses on like the bookkeeping side of things, but whenever we do open something up for either like a senior level role, we do get a lot of things. We get a million MBAs, and it's just like, but that's not a good fit for the kind of work that we're doing, and we know the longevity doesn't always stick. So as of right now, it is a fully female team. It's not been completely intentional, but it hasn't not been, a lot of the team refer friends and family and things like that. We do get a lot of referrals. So we've got some amazing team. We are open to that. I always say whenever we hire one man, we will hire two because I don't want them to feel like they're odd man out or have any reason to not be successful here. So if we hire one, we'll be hiring two. And that's a good possibility. We still want to continue to grow. And, we need lots of different types of people to be able to meet all of our clients' needs and things like that. So we're definitely open to it. But right now it's kind of fun. My team, we are self-coined, and it was one of our teammates that came up with it. But we used to say, "Good morning, ladies." And she's like, "Hey, good morning, Jadies." So they've come up with that on their own, which is kind of neat because then it's like they've, really representing the culture. And that's neat to see as a leader.
Just as some thoughts, we're 35 females and 5 males.
Okay.
And we're only 5 males now because we just hired another male in our South African office. We had one lonesome male there for a while. Shout out to Jason who put up with a lot for a while. I think he went about 15 months being the only male in the office.
Good for him.
So it's still doable. You just have to, again, it's about the culture, right? That they got the right values, they follow the mission, like they're all in there, like it can work. He is thankful that he's got another
a few
male.
friends now.
He's got a lot of. He's a big sports guy, and there's a couple of other team members that are huge into sports. So he's always got somebody to talk about. So it
Nice.
works pretty
That's
well.
great.
Talk about the growth. I mean, you said you started like from 5 merger, now you're at 15. Like, I mean, that's some big jump in numbers over a short period of time.
Yeah. It's not been without its trials and tribulations. If you actually read the book, the scaling book, Scale with Purpose by Ian Vason and Jason Blummer, you'll actually see the very first quote in the front of the book is me. And I used to joke, it's an old Jim Rohn thing. Jim Rohn's like this business philosopher. I don't know if you've heard of him. And his thing is you're either an example or you're the warning. And I went to Jason and Ian and I'm like, "Oh my God, am I the warning? Like, am I the reason you're saying like, don't do it like this?" They're like, "No, your point and your quote was just so bang on and poignant and honest about like, when you get to certain points in scaling, it gets really, really hard." And we were at the time, I think I chatted with Ian and we did the interview for the book. I think we were around 10 people. So Michelle and I come together 10, 12. And it gets really hard because when you're smaller, you got your finger on the pulse of absolutely everything. And it's not hard. You know everybody's name and everybody's kid's name and everybody's dog's name and everything that's going on. And then all of a sudden you wake up in the middle of the night one night and you're like, "Oh, I didn't check that," or "I don't know if we sent that out." Like you could no longer have your finger on the pulse of everything. And we didn't have the systems and processes in place then that we do now. And I got really nervous that something would fall through the crack. Part of that, like Carbon, we had put into place before that. But, back in the day, we've been a Carbon client for, I think, 8 years, like a really long time. So back in the day, it was mostly triage, which is like the inbox. And we over time started setting up the work and the tasks and things like that. But it wasn't until we got to that stage when I got really scared that something was going to fall through the cracks that we really doubled down onto our practice management system. And that was really critical for making sure that our growth was sustainable. Especially we do a lot of payroll. You cannot mess with someone's payroll. Like statistics show that if an employee's pay gets messed up 2 times, like they consider if that employer is even a good fit for them. So imagine the fact that now if we make a mistake, our client's employee might choose to leave. And it's just like, we never wanted that. So if ever there was a mistake, payroll side, bookkeeping side, it was like, okay, we plug the hole. We accept accountability, number one. We plug the hole so we never have to feel like this again. And so now like systems and processes are key for us. Carbon is built out fully around, all of the work and the tasks and the cadence and the accountability and who's doing the work. So that's been, you do hit these plateaus, but partially Carbon and partially doubling down on things like Scribe and Loom and being able to easily communicate amongst our team internally how to do a task. So sure, we don't have to teach anyone how to publish a bill from Dext over to QBO, but how do you close off this month end for this client? So as part of our cross training, which again helps us be able to deliver the most excellent customer service, we're also cross-training our team and ensuring that they know. So using technology in that regard, instead of it needing to be handwritten or, difficultly detailed documents to be able to how to do a process, we're putting things into Loom and Scribe where they can be updated immediately. And so it doesn't have to have this huge investment. And then it feels like you're trying to squish an elephant out the door at the end of the room that doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah, a lot of good information in there just in terms of, the plateau and where you go from a little chaotic and everything gets done and everybody knows how to plug holes, and then you reach a certain size where like, okay, you can't be chaotic, you can't just plug holes. People need to know what's going on. There needs to be documented processes. There has to be, great, there's a team, but what happens if the team member actually isn't there? Like they're on vacation or they're sick or, they've decided to look like, well, that's got to live on somewhere. And I think one of the hardest things about scaling is that portion, right? Is how do you make sure that everything is organized so that, like I always would say, if the bus hit the person, like somebody else can step in and take it over straight away, right? Like you need to be in that place. And when you're all small enough, like you'll just figure it out. But, at sometimes you get too many clients, you can't just figure it out because they're all got their own little nuances, their own little weird stuff that you have to figure.
Yeah.
You know,
And a
sounds
small
like you got the people side of that scale writing. Now it's like getting the process side of it, and then having to balance those two along the way is
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, it certainly is. And with growth, that's one of the things. We've been lucky that we've been profitable enough that so when we bring on, we can always hire slightly ahead of the curve, which is a real gift. And I know everyone doesn't have that. Sometimes you need to get pressure everyone just to have a few too many clients, and then you bring the person in. And then it's always a bit of a chicken and the egg. And we've been lucky enough to be able to invest in that person. So we actually hired 2 new people in the beginning of this year. And we knew that was we had a handful of people that were at an overcapacity. And we're like, okay, we're going to bring in 2 people at the same time. We're going to spread out the work because we needed to give everyone a little bit of breathing space. And what we did for Q2 here is we called it our 90-day efficiency sprint. And so we brought everyone down to around 75% capacity. And then we challenged them with the time and breathing space that they had to take off their bookkeeper hat and put on their creative hat, which isn't easy for bookkeepers because they're very process driven, which is why they're so amazing. But to now have the space and the capacity to look at how can I further take advantage of the technology and the AI that we're already using? So again, referring back to like QBO's got some AI going on, Dex has got some new AI like bank rules. Like where can we put an automated connector in between? I'm going to say like Shopify and A to X and, can we just do it automated? Or do we need to go in and check it? Like just why can't we publish everything in there? Because if we're doing a good enough check at month end, when we're doing our month end reviews, we're going to figure out if we don't have a utility bill across one of those months. So certain ones, like not everything and not every client, but we're starting to, back in the day, we would have never done that. Like you never
Yeah.
auto publish. That was like,
Yeah.
my God, that was not even a thought. But now it's like the technology is good enough. It's like, yes, that utility bill every single month goes to this GL and this class. And we'll check at the month end, but we don't need to hit publish. So we're also trying to elevate our team to make sure that they understand that they're not just button pushers either. It's like understanding the information, looking and doing that month end review and using a different set of eyes to be able to do that. So when it comes to, like I said, we were able to bring in additional people to be able to give them the time and space to take advantage of the technology to kind of squeeze their load. And now coming into Q3 is when we're going to start back into a little bit more business development as well. So
How's the team embracing the challenge of like figuring out how to use the tools and get more involved in AI?
So it's been interesting. I think there's never I would say resistance, but I think sometimes people go, well, I don't know, I guess I could set up that rule or that rule. So we said right away, go in, every single one of your clients, set up the Jade bill to auto publish. Like you'll figure it out at the end of the month if we don't have one, right? So just do it. And at first it was a bit uncomfortable and that everyone's really embraced it. And I think again, because of the way the culture is and the sharing, like on our Tuesday meeting, we would open it up and ask people like what success they had with it. And we had someone that had to take a whole bunch of reports. I'm going to say, I think it was out of Shopify, drop it into Excel, slice it and dice it, put in some information that didn't exist. And for instance, like CA could be California or Canada. So we had to go down and sales tax mattered both for Canada and for the US for this client. And they figured out a way in using, I don't know if it was Claude or Chat GPT, I'd have to check with that team member, to go from about a 2 to 3 hour task down to 5 minutes. So that one is incredible. Another client used to still issue manual checks and they had 2 in the last year that were fraudulent. So we've moved him over to an electronic payment processor, and that now it's like click, 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 pay, and they can't believe how easy it is. So some of them are efficiencies for the client, most of them are efficiencies for us. And I think the culture of everyone being able to share and tell each other what they were doing, they were able to like go, oh, I could do that over here. I could do that over here. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I know change is hard for people, but again, as a leader, be recognizing that, we are asking people to do something, because a lot of why they're so amazing is because they're very process driven, and they've helped build these processes out in Carbon to make sure that we've done a great job. And now we're asking them to sort of challenge their own work, which has been difficult for them. But I would say overall, it was a real big success.
And you guys are clearly embracing AI, but how do you feel about AI in general? Like, are you on the super hype train, those 1%, one percenters? Are you sort of maybe where I am a little bit, where it's like, yeah, this is going to change a lot of what we do, but it's exciting and it's fun? Or are you, I mean, there's obviously the far end, which are like, AI, that's going to be gone in a couple of years. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think it's not going to be gone. It's going to be different. I think for our app ecosystem, I think in the next 6 months, it'll be really interesting to see who's standing. Like even at QuickBooks Get Connected that they had in Toronto recently, it used to go to the area where all the app partners come, and there used to be 30. I think there was 8. Like if there was that, maybe there was 6. Like they're not a lot, because larger like Dext, like QuickBooks, again, like those are the ones I'm mentioning because like those are our main software that we're using right now. And a lot of the other applications that are trying to come out and we've spoken to about doing month-end close, about doing this, about doing that, so far they might have a little bit here and this one's got a little bit there, but nothing's been able to show us that it's going to significantly change the work that we're doing yet. I do believe it's going to be possible. I also think it's probably going to need to be someone that's got like a much more creative brain than probably I do to be able to go, wait, Jen, you don't have to do it like that anymore. But I find it fascinating. I think the one thing that I've learned most over the last month, specifically related to one of our clients, is that she was using AI. And it's like, a lot of us think if we're using AI, we're cheating. And it's just like, no, like we just have to stop thinking like that and use it. We still say so far to our team, use it as an intern. If you don't have to do the manual work to put that into a pivot table and then break it out from this GL and allocate it across these other ones, like use it. It's an intern. But you need to be the one driving it, and you need to be the one making sure it's got the right context and it's delivering good results. So our one client recently wanted something QuickBooks wasn't able to give her. She needed some information by product, not by customer. And so what I've gotten really clear on is the way that we handle the data architecture is incredibly important. Again, QuickBooks is a great GL. When it came to trying to cobble together some of these reports, like we hit every ceiling that we could possibly do. But if we now know which reports, like where we can put in a custom field, which reports pull out those custom fields, what's meaningful to the client, we were then able to pull out, 2-3 different reports, again, just out of QuickBooks, just out on the data that we're already putting in. And we got her exactly what she was looking for with a pie chart, which QuickBooks won't do. Who cares about pie charts? But anyway, but something like that. So again, for us now, we're starting to think about like the data architecture of what we're putting into QuickBooks to make sure that we can get the clients out the data that they need and want. Also being really mindful that if our clients, if you suspect or if your clients are using it, engage in that with them. Because we had some client recently ask us for some information. And I said, yeah, like I could pull that together for you. And, I pulled out some product reports. I threw it into Claude. And the very first thing I noticed is all the volumes were doubled. So there was 12 bags of cookies in a case, and it added the case plus the 12 bags. So it's got like 24. And so if that client said, oh my God, I sold 5,000 bags of cookies this month, it's like, actually, they only sold 2,500. If they did a production run based on the data, if they went and did that in Claude alone, that would have cost them an incredible amount of money. Yeah. So I think we need to be mindful to use the products with the client because it can help us. It can get us some interesting information far more quickly than I could cobble it together. But
For sure.
Being mindful that, you're the intelligence and the common sense to review those reports first.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the important part, right? Is like, remember the human side of it. And this is where like you're building a great culture and you're empowering your team to look for great opportunities to use it, then having those conversations with your team. Like that's how we really get the best out of AI, right? Because it's just this, like you said, the intern that's doing a bunch of the dirty work, or I like to use it as like my smarter friend as well. Like I need to do this report, and I just start like typing what I want, and then it will start giving me ideas, kick out a report and be like, hey, not quite, like and they help me build reports that I know I could have probably built myself, but I get super frustrated 2 hours into the process. And then, they're building reports while I'm doing something else. This is building a report in Claude, and I'm writing an article using, getting ChatGPT to check my article to make sure that I'm not talking garbage and fact check me. And like, I can do 100
Yeah.
different things at once,
Yeah.
probably making me too efficient, but too distracted. But it can make a big difference because it allows you to take the knowledge that you have, what you're trying to do, and turn it into helpful, valuable insight to your clients. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right? Is help these business
Yeah.
owners be successful.
Yeah. And the technology is going to change drastically over the next couple years, but the one thing that's never going away is the people. So that's where it's always going to be the most important to me, is like to continue the culture within our firm, to continue building up and continually educating, further educating and upskilling my team, and then doing the same with the clients as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Jennifer, what's the big goals? What are you guys working towards? What are the big plans over the next, year, 2 years, 3 years? What are we building towards?
Still continuing to scale. Michelle and I talk a lot about getting to what we call our choice point. Because, with all the conversations recently about like, accounting firm acquisitions and PE money and all that kind of stuff, one day we were probably sitting over a glass of champagne or something like that, because that's kind of our go to. It would have been like, so if the business is really, really profitable and running by itself, we could sell it. But then it's like, but if it's really, really profitable and running by itself, we could keep it. So we call that our choice point. So for us, it's a little bit about getting a little bit out of the weeds, being able to free up a little bit more time where the business isn't as dependent on us. So part of that is the systems and processes that I talked about that we put in place. And, I call it sell ready. I say this to a bunch of my clients too. You don't need to want to sell yet, but you really have to take the perspective of looking at how the business depends on you. Like eventually the business is supposed to take care of you, not you take care of it. So looking at that where, you as a business owner is still that bottleneck, or still like, carrying the majority of the burden in the company, and starting to look at how you can, sort of offload some of that responsibility across part of it, systems and processes and other people on your team, so that, if and when the time comes, like they do have the ability and they want to retire and do a sale. So even if they're not looking to sell today, we're not, but we still, in the back of my brain, like I still use the word sell ready, because I think it's important to make sure that you really have a solid structure that can stand on its own, and not just on my shoulders.
Yeah, I mean I hear this from a lot of the M&A guys that I work with as well. You start getting ready for a sale on day one. Like if you should run your business going, I could sell this at any point, because you never know. A life change can happen and you're forced to sell, right? So you don't want to run in a situation where you're not ready and an opportunity is right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. And my kids are getting older. My son's in university. My daughter's got one more year of high school. So it's like, I want to travel a little bit, just be away from my desk a little bit more. I still love the work that I do. And, even if we were to sell in 5, 10 years and technically like retire, like I got too much energy to sit still that long. So I'm still going to be always, doing something, but it's really important to me to think about what the longevity looks like. And, I think Michelle and I owe that to each other as well as partners, so that we have options. So.
That's a perfect segue. We've been talking way too much about business today, and it would not be Protea Conversations if we didn't get to know Jennifer the person a little bit more. So I'd just love to know, like, what does your life outside of the accounting firm look like?
There's a lot of time at this desk, but yeah, I'd say like my kids are amazing. Like I mentioned, my son just turned 19. He's in going into second year university, and he's doing commerce and aviation. So boy's going to learn how to fly, and my daughter's just going to finish high school. As we mentioned off the top, I have 2 golden retrievers. I love, what do I love? Like I love investment properties. I have a handful of investment properties. I love puttering around and making something better than I found it. Love some power tools, doing some projects and that kind of stuff. And, that's one side of me. I would say the other side is that not many people know. I said this to one of my team members recently, but before I had kids, I was a trained doula, like a childbirth doula. And so
Wow.
I volunteered at a place in Toronto that supported pregnant teens. And so back in the day, I did 4 births with these young ladies and helped them get ready for their world of motherhood. And yeah, so that was pretty amazing. So I did that. And then I had, 20 years with my own kids. But my next step is I'm actually starting to volunteer at our local hospital, and my job is going to be snuggling babies in the NICU. So yeah, so I'm truly a nurturer. So I think that, culture and taking care of my team and taking care of my kids, and now, teens and babies and all that kind of stuff, like it's definitely the nurturer in me.
Incredible. Pretty good way to spend some time cuddling some babies. Definitely good
Amazing.
use of time.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I've learned so much today. I have so many more questions, but we don't have that much more time. I really do appreciate everything you've shared today. We love to end with some rapid fire questions. But first, before we get into the rapid fire, I've never been to Canada. If I had to visit Canada, what is something I should do?
Well, we have so many interesting parts of Canada. If you were to come to Toronto, which most people know, again, you're going to want to go and do the sports, the different, whether it's the Blue Jays, Toronto Maple Leafs, the Raptors, depends on what you're into. And the food in Toronto is phenomenal. So definitely if you're a foodie, that's one of the things that you need to do here. Stay in the city, don't deal with the traffic because that's something else. If you're a nature person, and I think you're West Coast, like Vancouver and British Columbia are absolutely extraordinary. And yet I also love the East Coast of Canada, which is like what we call the Maritimes. And it's like little fishing villages and fresh lobster rolls and things like that. Like it's really an extraordinary country. So I would highly recommend that you make your way up here. And if you do, let me know and I'll if it's Toronto, we'll definitely meet. Other than that, I'll give you some great recommendations.
I don't like the winter weather, so I have to figure out that. And I don't want to come when it's 44
I also told you it's 44 here right now. So
I'm creating a small little window here for myself.
Fall is lovely.
So is it? You're in the Bay Area, so maybe that's just a North American thing. The fall is the best time of the year.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's hit these rapid fire questions.
Okay.
If you're ready.
Yeah. Sure, I guess as ready as I'm ever going to be.
Easy one first. What's your dream vacation?
Ooh, an island. So actually, I've always wanted to go to the Maldives. So I would say that's right up there. Hawaii too. Tropical, anything tropical. I love the heat. So.
20 minutes to exercise. What's that exercise?
Walk in nature or kayaking on the lake.
What is your favorite piece of technology that you use on a daily basis to make your life easier?
Is it okay to say like audiobooks? It's not really technology, but I do have an app. I love audiobooks. That's just how I take in information in my favorite way. So I would say that. If it had to be something more technical, I'm going to go with Claude right now. I'm having some fun playing there.
I prefer the audiobook one. I love my Audible app.
Yeah.
What is a book recommendation that everybody should listen to? And it doesn't have to be business related. It can be anything.
Probably will be Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. That's a great one. He's actually Canadian, and that wasn't even an intentional plug. That's a great one. And the other one I really like for mindset is there's one, so Dan Sullivan, again, Canadian, not even trying here. Look at it. And it's like I planned this, not. He's strategic coach. And so Dan Sullivan, and he partnered up with someone by the name of Benjamin Hardy. They've got a couple books, but one of the ones I really like, and I've probably listened to multiple times, is it's called 10X is Easier Than 2X. So if we just sit here and think, okay, what is it going to take to double the business? But when you actually say, no, I don't just want to double it, like what does 10X look like? And then you'd be surprised how many things fall away and how many of your excuses get out of the way if that's something you really want. So 10X is Easier Than 2X is a great one.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Last question. It's your final meal. It's all over afterwards. What would it be?
Can it be in Italy?
It can be wherever you want it to be.
This
is this fantastic
Italian pasta, like a cacio e pepe or something like that with a perfect glass of wine. So yeah.
I think absolutely love it. Jennifer, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being a part of Protea Conversations.
Thanks, Zane. This was really fun. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And with that, we ended another Protea Conversations. Thank you for joining us in this journey of learning and inspiration. Today we've gained insight from our guest and taken another step towards understanding the diverse tapestry of leadership in business and accounting. Remember, each conversation is a step towards the positive transformation of business leaders. We hope our discussion has given you valuable takeaways to apply in your own career and life. Don't forget to subscribe to Protea Conversations on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so connect with me on social media channels. I'm most active on LinkedIn and would love you to join the conversation. Join us next time for more engaging stories, advice, and conversations that matter. Until then, keep striving for excellence, embracing growth. Thank you for listening, be kind, and goodbye from Protea Conversations.